A recent Kaiser poll shows that a majority of Americans, 56%, and 81% of Democrats support a national health care plan.
They would like the government to guide the health care system, i.e. set all the rules and regulations of what you can and cannot do, instead of letting entrepreneurs create innovations in terms of more health care. We don't have real free markets in health care. It's a hybrid system, mixed system, with the government becoming more and more intrusive and telling doctors on Medicare and Medicaid what they can receive.
Medicare for all sounds good, but critics note nationalized health care decreases the quality of health care and access to health care. For example, England, a nation of 55 million people with nationalized health care for years now, has 4.2 million people currently waiting for treatment. Furthermore, the cost of Medicare for all would be prohibitive.
Medicare for all, is it too expensive?
No. People often say, like, how are you going to pay for it? And I find the question so puzzling because how do you pay for something that's more affordable? How do you pay for cheaper rent? How do you pay for, you just pay for it.
If you have government centrally deciding what gets paid for, and in fact eventually who receives the benefit and who might not receive the benefit, and you have a situation of monetary difficulty as we do today, rationing is the natural outcome.
Where it has been practiced, nationalized health care has been of a lower quality, with more delays for service than privatized health care. In other words, there is a cost to nationalizing health care. We could see it in Canada, we can see it in the UK, we can see it in any country that has nationalized health care.
Unless you realize that human beings have a special and ultimate value based merely on being human, not earning it through having a capacity, then those who are deemed weak and vulnerable are very, very much threatened.
The majority of Americans believe and approve of Medicare for all, single-payer health care.
Single payer means nationalized health care. The government becomes the single payer.
Medicare has been there for the older people, and if you are going to include younger people in the Medicare rolls, you're essentially going to undermine the whole system. You're going to bankrupt the system. And then old people will not be able to get the attention that they were counting on all their lives.
I'm very concerned about the impact of our current trajectory on healthcare for the elderly. If you have a utilitarian mindset, if you have a quality of life mindset, and you look at somebody who, for example, may have to require a lot of care and is debilitated, and they say, well, they're not giving back to society. Well, first, that shouldn't be the criteria in healthcare. And second, what about a lifetime of giving to society? We're talking about the greatest generation. This is the generation that won World War II. This is the generation that overcame the Depression. This is the generation that raised baby boomers like me, and we're the spoiled generation. But they should certainly not be caused to suffer and be looked upon as somehow the bad guys in healthcare because they're more expensive for whom to care.
And yet many in our society clamor for more government-run healthcare. A recent Harris poll found that among young people born after 1980, 73% believe that government should provide universal health care, and 49% say that they prefer living in a socialist country. This has serious implications for even human life itself at all stages of life.
Universal health care, according to every plan that we've seen from the left, would, by design, mandate government funding of abortion. These similar types of socialist systems would severely intercede between the parental rights and the rights of the family to raise their children as according to they see fit. And on the liberty angle, again, it would severely restrict the rights of churches, pastors, and even just lay Christians to live out their faith according to their deeply held religious beliefs.
In the last election, over 40 members of Congress ran as socialists. People don't realize that. So it has become fashionable right now. because it had become fashionable on college campuses to be a socialist. Socialist figures have become the ideal. And so today, they are not taught about what's happening in Venezuela. They are not taught about what's happening in Cuba. They are not taught about the oppression of human rights. They are young and they are emotionally driven, and they are out in the streets paid for by people like Soros, who are mobilizing them. Look, Venezuela, in a matter of 13 years, went from one of the most prosperous countries in the world to today a total socialist country where people are starving. They are rationing foods, 1 meal a day. People are losing weight. The whole country is falling apart. It took 13 years to transform Venezuela. And the same thing can happen to America. And we cannot allow that to happen.
So some would try to say, no, we don't mean that socialism. We mean this other form of socialism, looking at Norway's and Sweden and others. But those countries are not true socialistic countries in the common understanding, or in the true sense of socialism. They have capitalist-based markets with a pretty expansive welfare state, but it's another one of those examples of bait and switch. So they're using an inaccurate depiction to present a romanticized view of socialism, but everywhere socialism has been tried, it has failed miserably, and there have been millions of people who have literally become casualties of that failed idea.
Dr. Scott Atlas wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal about a year ago entitled "The False Promise of Medicare for All," in which he noted the only reliable promise of single-payer would be worse health care for Americans and higher taxes. He added that Medicare for All would cost more than $32 trillion over its first decade, and at the same time, it would restrict access to health care. And yet, many young people claim to want this.
The majority of students that are saying that socialism is a good thing have not been educated in any way, shape, or form about what socialism is. And the reverse of that coin, they don't know what free markets and free enterprise are. They think that it's exploitive, that it causes poverty, when in fact, all over the world and throughout history, if young people were just being taught reality, they would know that socialism never works. Sadly, people in free countries will sometimes voluntarily vote to adopt socialism, but they almost never get a chance to vote their way out of socialism. Almost always, when people realize how bad it is, they end up having to shoot their way out of socialism.